Hi, my name is Ray, and this is my 1990 Mazda 323. The car doesn't really have that much of a aftermarket support for it, so a lot of the stuff that I've done are either one-off, custom-made, or is taken off another car. So here we go. So the first modification was an engine swap. The stock 1.6 liter four-cylinder was removed, and a 2.5 liter V6 from the Japanese Mazda MX-6 Ford Probe with 200 horsepower was put in, along with a 5-speed transmission. The engine is pretty much bone stock because it's my daily driver, and also to meet California emissions. The car is CARB certified, so everything is street legal. So next up were the chassis and suspension components. This was a little bit more complicated than usual because of the different subframe I had to use from a 1992 MX-3 doing the engine swap in order for the engine and transmission to bolt on. So some parts were for MX-3 while other parts were for a Protege or 323 basically. So the first thing were a set of sprint springs on a set of Tokiko shocks. An Echo rear sway bar was put on, but custom end links had to be fabricated using Heim joints and universal bushings because of the different car parts. And the stock sway bar was then taken out and fabricated into a custom B-pillar bar and pair that up with the rear shock cowl bar just to stiffen up the chassis a little bit more. Next up were the brakes. During the engine swap, like I mentioned, I had to use the MX-3 subframe. Well, one of the side benefits to that is that the MX-3 also uses a rear disc brake setup. So I was able to ditch the factory drums and replace them with the MX-3 setup with the rear discs. Up front, after quite a bit of research, I was able to put together a 13-inch rotor setup compared to the stock about roughly 10-inch diameter rotor. It's quite a bit of an increase. I had made custom relocation brackets, bolt them to the factory calipers and brake lines. The feel is definitely much better, much more responsive, and fade is eliminated. And luckily, everything still fits behind my 16-inch rims with just minor grinding off the calipers. The next thing will probably be a similar custom setup for the rear. Next up was the body, probably the most intensive part of the project thus far. The car was heavily dented, so it took me a good couple of months to have everything pounded out, bondoed, and blocked out before primer. Along the way, I also did a few upgrades like relocating and changing it into an aftermarket antenna, shaving the third brake light, converting the gas door to a remote release one, having the vents off a Chevrolet Lumina C34 installed onto the hood. Then also added a couple of wings on the upper wing and the mid wing on the hatch, and then have everything masked off and a couple of coats of polyester primer, flat black primer, sprayed on. So after the primer stage, I did a couple of more body modifications, one of which was to get that wide body or that flared look to the car. So I picked out a set of 16x8 rims with 0 offsets and had the wheel openings cut out bigger, so to allow more wheel travel without scrubbing the fenders or the quarter panels. And then after that, a set of fiberglass fender flares for the Datsun 240Z was picked out, and I had spent a couple of days trimming and fitting them, and finally have them screwed onto the body. So finally, a few more finishing touches. Up front, put a pair of fog lights into the bumper. Also, on the front bumper, I added a chin spoiler that was taken from a Mazda MX-6 of the same years, the late 80s, early 90s. Required a little bit of trimming, but pretty much retained the correct shape and bolted right on. I also added a couple of pieces of side skirts They are just the composite plastic landscape edging that you could find at your local home improvement stores, but they gave the car a much more aggressive and lower stance. And I spray tinted the taillights along with the center garnish and the turn signals as well up front, just to lower the contrast a little bit against the black on the body, and also give it a little bit more of a sinister look. And that's pretty much it. That's my Mazda 323. I certainly see it as the epitome of a do-it-yourself project, because everything that I've done to it has pretty much been custom made or is borrowed from another car. I've definitely enjoyed working on it, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it as well. So thank you, and have a good one.